How is the mic? Okay, it's a little low, so I'm going to turn it up just a bit. There we go. Okay, so we will be recording Skyrim, the game. Right now we're in Solstheim though. I got all my followers with me.
Every time I look at you, my
Shut
blood
the hell up.
boils.
You broke my quest. Shut up.
What are
I
you
was
doing
trying to
that
get a
for?
quest done here. The dude died and I can't do that quest. Which sucks. We're going to head back to the mainland though. Because we are done with the Solstheim series. And I wanted to talk about ESO and the Elder Scrolls games. I don't remember too much about Daggerfall and Arena, as I haven't played them in forever. Most of the games, Elder Scrolls I've played, was from Morrowind, Oblivion, and Skyrim. It was hard to go back to Arena and Daggerfall. I think Daggerfall has a large-ass open world.
It's wearing a dangerous spell.
Why is everybody
Ours
saying
is
that
to
to me
smile
now?
at your passing.
Dangerous spell,
We're
dangerous
used to
spell,
getting
what?
by on scraps, but the Shatter Shields want everything for nothing.
Dangerous spell. Does this guy always say it?
Do be careful with that spell, will you?
Hell. The hell?
Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you.
Heard they're informing the Dawn God. Vampire.
Never seen that before. What the hell? What the hell?
In the old
It's a new quest. Might be a creation of thing. Anyways. So let's get almost. Give Brett.
It's wearing a dangerous
Do be
spell.
careful with that spell, will you?
Don't come too close with that.
What is going on? Why are people saying that constantly? So, I want to talk about ESO and the Elder Scrolls. It'll probably mostly be from Morrowind to Skyrim. I think the original two games may not have aged too well, but they're not bad games. I'm not saying that they're bad at all. It's just after playing Morrowind and the rest of them, it's kind of hard to go back to those. So ESO was a game that when I originally played it, I thought it was super mediocre. It does not capture the feeling of a Elder Scrolls game. It is just like every other typical MMO, except somehow more bland and blends in. It's kind of the thing that I said about Destiny, where yeah, Destiny has a unique art style and has good music, and the gunplay isn't bad, but it's what you're using that gunplay for I don't find fun. It's super repetitive. And I'll go back here. Okay, I guess that's where my only autosave was last, or my last save. It just feels like it has a lackluster identity. Like if you played ESO alongside EverQuest, for example, like you couldn't tell the difference. Both games have similar races in them, similar settings, looks, and stuff. Okay, not entirely similar, but you know what I'm trying to say. It doesn't have a identity or personality that stands out amongst those so many other MMOs that are out there. That's even if you're including
Captain
stuff like
Gjallan does the business
such.
around
It's
here.
not able to stand out on its own. It doesn't even feel like an Elder Scrolls game because it doesn't have that the feeling of an Elder Scrolls game. I actually
Do be
prefer
careful
to
with that
play it.
spell, will you?
100 gold pieces.
Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you.
There. So I guess this shrine doesn't matter anyway. But excuse me. I have to walk to it because it's not.
It's wearing a dangerous spell.
Why is everybody saying that? But like it doesn't have. I know it's not meant to be like an Elder Scrolls world at all. In the same sense, it knows it's an MMO, but it's like, man, that's not what I wanted. That's not what I think a lot of people wanted. People wanted more of what Fallout 76 was doing. That's sad when I have to say Fallout 76 got the idea. But even Skyrim together, like, that's more of what we wanted, not freaking ESO. ESO is just so forgettable, generic, bland. And honestly, it still kinda is. So my thoughts kinda haven't changed. I played every expansion DLC except for the newest one, whatever the frick that was called. And I know Necrom is coming. I will say if there's one good thing to come out of ESO finally, it is that they put companions. I always loved companions in Elder Scrolls games. Like, it was always cool to have a character come with you on your adventures. It was an NPC created by the Elder Scrolls universe itself that you got to know and had personality and felt like someone traveling alongside you as like a sidekick or a best friend on your adventures with you. It was always a cool experience. And ESO finally, more later on, gave us that, but still very limited on what it could do. Jesus Christ, it's doing a lot of damage. And like the fights don't feel like they're in, it's once again the other thing is the fights don't feel real time or as lively as Elder Scrolls. There's something weird about them that like they just don't have the same feeling to them that the Elder Scrolls game always has. I don't know how to describe it, but this was just for the armor. Is that it? Is that the whole DLC? There's a lot of gold. That. I just felt like the world was more lively in the Elder Scrolls games because they were open worlds that were meant to have more life in them, have more immersive NPCs and settings. They didn't have the obvious red outlines on both the attacks and the enemies in the open world. Like, they didn't feel super, like they still feel programmed to an extent. Like, you obviously can tell there's AI walking around in the world of Skyrim or Morrowind or whatever, but there's just something about the way that the world operates around you and how the NPC's dialogue and interactions with you, it somehow feels more lively and in real time, where a lot of the stuff feels so scripted in ESO that it's hard to ever feel like you're getting immersed. As well as ESO has the same problem as I have with Destiny, where the combat is only as good as what you're using it on or for, or the gameplay is only as good as what you're using it towards. And I find that the things that you're fighting are just really mediocre and boring, and how it's scripted in the way that they operate, and it just makes for a really boring setting. Where the only good thing I liked is the companions. I don't mind the art style as well as the looks of a lot. Like, I think the Argonians look cool. I think the Khajiit look great. There are some good character models for the creativity there, the character creation and stuff. But I do think the character creation is a bit lackluster. There still feels like there's more to Skyrim and such when it comes to character creation. And the weapons aren't nearly as interesting. You're not finding these really awesome weapon variants. Most of the game relies on microtransactions if you want to get better stuff, and just so much expensive DLC. Like, it's just not worth it. The reason I was able to play most of the DLC is I used 1 month of ESO Plus, which is only 15 bucks, and I was able to play most of all of the content for within that month because I put a lot of time into it. And another problem started to rise. You thought that the previous Elder Scrolls games had very typical ways in how their quests played out and such. Like, that's nothing compared to ESO. Like, you get mad about fetch quests and stuff. ESO is so much worse. ESO is so much worse. For you.
Are you finished ogling the grotesque? I am one of the afflicted. I'd have been dead from this plague a year ago.
You don't have
if not
random
for
encounters
Periite's
like
protection.
this either. Like, once again, the world doesn't
Returning
give
to
you
High Rock,
stuff like this in ESO.
our shepherd lost
And
his way,
somehow
and
a
I
lot
fear
of the
Periite's
world
wrath may consume
feels
those
very
who remain with
boring
him. Kesh
and
could tell you more.
disinteresting.
I just
Like,
want out of
when you're
Skyrim as
playing a
quickly
game
as
like
possible.
the Zelda game, recent Zelda games, or you're playing Skyrim here, there's always something in the distance that you're like eye-boggling at, and you're like, ooh, what's that? I want to go over there. I want to go over there. You never get that feeling in ESO. ESO is just a super generic, samey open world. Even in the even when I went to a lot of the cities like Riften and stuff, it doesn't have the same vibe feeling to it that Riften and Skyrim has. And especially the other point that I hate, at least when it comes to Xbox, I don't know how it is on PC or PS4, but man, the Xbox community for ESO, awful. There are people that are really rude in the game, and just there was one time where it's not a role-playing server at all, so I don't know what the hell they were doing other than purposely being a jerk. What the hell? Hello? Here in
What's a
Mammoth
milk
somewhere.
drinker like you doing out here? Go home to your mother. Why? What are you gonna do? Cry?
No, I'm gonna kill you.
I don't have to take that from you. Where did you come from?
Exactly. Your sword wasn't gonna be mine, that's for sure. Some decent loot though. Take it all. There. You want to make it.
I grew up.
But like there was a time I had so many bad encounters with people. I have nicer encounters when I'm doing when I'm doing werewolf fights and stuff for people. I give them out for free because I know people want the abilities and stuff of the werewolf or whatever. And people are very nice, thanking you. I've had one person who paid me like, wait, I do it for free. Oh, never mind.
There was no other way it could end.
That wasn't bad. Didn't know I was being attacked by a saber-tooth. They usually like to hide in like the bushes and stuff. I've seen it a lot during my road and path playthrough. I noticed that. Unless they were in the open attacking something, then they couldn't hide. Oh, there's a bear.
Victorious
They're
again.
not as bad when you're at higher levels. But, yeah, like, I've had some really nasty encounters, I should say. Not rude. They went far beyond the word. I play an Argonian in a lot of Elder Scrolls. I love the Argonian race. If you don't know me, I love dinosaurs and I love alligators and crocodiles, lizards in general. They're some of my favorite animals. They're adorable or even cool looking. I think alligators and crocodiles look cool, so to be able to play a Argonian, which is basically a lizard being, human being. And to make some of the cool designs I've made. So,
That spell looks dangerous. Keep your distance.
oh, there's the guy that. Why is everybody saying that to me? But
I told you.
oh, he fought a wolf. But yeah, it's like I had somebody being racist towards my character that I chose, and in turn being nasty towards me. And I'm like, what is going on here that somebody is being racist towards a fictional race in this game that I'm playing as? And it was like one of the stupidest experiences I've ever had in a game, and I'm just like, what the hell? Fallout 76 has a way better community. I've actually had some really nice people in Fallout. There's some nice people that the only weirdest experience I had was this one dude in his power armor in the middle of the forest with me. He's just walking up to me randomly. I don't know what he's trying to signal to me. He doesn't have like voice chat on or messaging me at all. I don't know, and it was just a weird experience. I just kind of walked off and did my own thing afterwards, and he just left me alone. That was the only weird experience there. When I'm done with ESO and all the dumb crap I've seen in it. And this was a long time ago though, so I don't see this as much, but when I'm in Riften, I see a lot of just really nasty individuals in ESO, so hopefully like PC and PlayStation 4 don't have the same nasty individuals. I'll tell you another story. Some people I ran into on ESO Xbox. The other individuals I ran into was just this. I'm at I think a vampire shrine, and these people. Oh my god. Being an asshole to me out of nowhere. I haven't said a thing. I haven't done anything. Oh.
Bandits harassed the
ran into
caravan.
you.
A few days ago we were ambushed. A nuisance,
But
really. But many of the
she was
marauders
just
had
all
quick
sorts of just
fingers.
name calling and
One
the
of them
typical
stole my
bullying
moon
crap.
amulet, given to
And
me by my mother
I
when
told
I
her,
was
I
just a
finally came
cow.
on the mic, I told her
It is
to
my
leave me
only
alone.
memory of home in this cold land.
I don't want anything to do with you. Please piss off, basically. And then she went to get her freaking boyfriend to attack me next. I talked with him and tried to like settle things in a peaceful way,
Be
but
careful.
in the end it was like,
I missed my
this
amulet.
is stupid. This is really
Skyrim
pointless.
is
I don't know
filled
either
with
of you.
all manner of
You just kind of
dangerous
picked a
beasts.
fight with me out of nowhere.
Wolves,
That is
trolls,
stupid.
mammoths, and giants would
And,
all like to make a meal of us.
Luckily,
but the
that was the
dragons are
last I've
most
seen of
fearsome.
those people, but man,
Lucky for
what a
us, they
stupid
don't
experience.
seem to hunt
Every
along
time I
the
go to
roads.
Riften, I will hear people either bully. I remember hearing one person, you could tell they probably had a disability. They had a speech impediment. I can't remember exactly what it was. And I remember seeing all sorts of these guys in Riften picking on this individual, and there was only one other person that was nice and willing to be nice to this person.
Yeah,
But
it is a
man, that
thankless
was such a
task,
stupid
and I would rather be
situation,
back
too.
home in elsewhere. Akari
And there are
freed me
all
from a
sorts of people
prison in Citadel,
in
and now I must
ESO
repay my
on
debt to
Riften,
him.
at least on Xbox,
A
where
word
they're
of
just
advice, my
swearing at one
friend.
another.
Do not mix
They're
gambling
even
and
throwing the
drink.
N-word around.
Taken
I think
together,
some of
they
them are
will empty
white
your pockets
and
of
don't have an
every
N-word
cent.
pass. So it's like, oh my gosh, what is this? Even freaking Blazing Saddles doesn't say that as much as these guys are.
May your road lead
Jeez.
you to warm
People
sands.
are really nasty on ESO. Like, I've never seen such a nasty community or just people in general I've run into on a game before. It was like really my first time seeing something that massive on such a scale of just so many disgusting individuals. And it just ruined my overall vibes of ESO. Luckily nowadays I don't see that as much. Riften still from time to time have individuals like that. But luckily I don't see it as much as I used to, but man, that's just really bad impressions to have on the game. Like, I honestly just wanted the ESO to be Skyrim together. I it doesn't feel like an Elder Scrolls game. The only thing I liked that they finally brought in was the companion system, and it didn't look like one. It didn't have the open world feel or vibe of an Elder Scrolls game. It was just a very like MMO, which is the purpose of it. But even though it's got all the popularity it does, and I have no clue why. Then again, why is Cyberpunk as big as it is? Cyberpunk's not even close to being like, I can't believe Skill Up and the Completionist, or at least it was just a dude from Skill Up on a one of their vlogs, said that put Cyberpunk on the same level of saying it was a comeback, on the same level as No Man's Sky. No, it is freaking still not. What is wrong with people? I am seriously losing faith in humanity when it comes to such stupid things like that. It's like, it's still not. It's a fake RPG. Even though you have 3 different set beginnings, it's very short-lived until you do all the same crap anyways. Has forgettable cities. It doesn't nearly have as much lively NPCs or city as games like GTA or even Bethesda games. Like, the NPCs aren't as interactive. They recycle a lot of the same NPCs, where the most that Elder Scrolls will do will recycle fricking using the same actor, but at least the same actor still feels more immersive than all of the frickin' actors in Cyberpunk. Like, Cyberpunk is still not on the same level of No Man's Sky. The best they've done is fixing some glitches and technical issues, and I think, once again, Beat 'em Up's video on Cyberpunk is still relevant, because the one thing he said is he wishes there were never glitches in that game, because it is overshadowing the actual problems with the game that people are not seeing. And those problems still persist. They are still there. It's a fake RPG. There's no real choices. All the endings have you just mostly sitting around talking forever. Most stuff does, and it's freaking boring. You thought standing around talking in the Elder Scrolls game was boring? Frick off with that. Like, not even close to Cyberpunk's freaking boring ass conversations. Makes Han Solo want to say that one line on multiple occasions. Boring ass conversation. Anyway, I know he doesn't say ass, but might as well add a little extra anger to that. But Cyberpunk has not done that. Even with mods like the flying car mod, freaking Watch Dogs Legion has air traffic and stuff that makes it feel lively in the air. There's like drones flying around and stuff that make it feel like a sci-fi world, where Cyberpunk does not have that. There is not nearly enough flying cars and stuff in the air to make it feel like the air traffic is like actually there, or there's a reason to fly. It's fun for a while, but then it just loses its touch after that. It becomes super lackluster. But then, like, man, I'm talking about Cyberpunk, but I should be talking about ESO. I'm pissed about Cyberpunk. Hopefully the new, like, if the new DLC or expansion or whatever the hell that's called is good, congrats. I'm glad there's something finally good from Cyberpunk. I haven't found a lot of the... What is this? I need to disable that mod. I think that a lot of the... luckily I couldn't use that mod with that, because this character anyways, because this character was meant to be bound to Solstheim, but since everything there is done, dusted, I can now move on to other parts of the world of Skyrim. And I'm done with that series anyways. I made the finale video. But Cyberpunk just pisses me off, and like, an anime is what made it. Like, didn't we have a Tekken anime, and we had a bunch of other video game anime not far off? Like, why the hell does Cyberpunk have to feel so special? yeah, it's an okay anime. It's not good enough to say the entire
You keep your
game was
distance with that magic.
better than we thought. No, it's still trash. It's not nearly on the level of the Bethesda games somehow. I think even ESO and once again and frickin' Fallout 76 or more have comebacks. At least they brought a lot of the things they promised of those games into the game, where Cyberpunk still hasn't done that stuff. Cyberpunk doesn't have enough variety. It has the problem I have with Division 1, where the people were upset that the clothing was too boring and there's not much weapon variety and such.
Trouble.
Um,
Yeah, well, I got
there's
news
not
for
much
you.
of that
There's
either in
nothing to see
Cyberpunk.
here.
Cyberpunk has
Last thing
barely
the Black
any
Briars need is some
clothing
stranger
or
sticking
weapon
their nose
variety.
where it doesn't
It is
belong.
so lackluster. Even special types of
The
weapons.
Black
You know how
Briars have Riften
Skyrim,
in their
like, you
pocket,
can find,
and the Thieves Guild
for
watching their
example,
back.
Soulstein,
So
you got
keep
the
your nose
Bloodskull
out of their
sword or
business.
that frickin' mace.
Me?
I'll have to show
I'm
you
Maul.
that. But
I
there's
watch
like
the
special
streets
types
for
of weapons.
If you need dirt on anything,
There's only like
I'm your
5
guy.
of that in
But
the
it'll cost
entirety
you.
of Cyberpunk. The rest of it is
Then we're speaking the same language.
mostly on
Good.
like cars,
So what do you wanna
focused on
know?
cars, but the driving sucks, and the flying mod is only as fun
You
as the
kidding?
first couple
My
times
brother
you
Dirge
use it.
works in
Other
their
than
hideout.
that, there's no air traffic to
I
make
used
it
to
feel
run with
lively.
them myself, but took a job with
It's
Maven
only a
after they
better
started
way of
hitting a
getting
rough
from one
patch.
place, an easier,
If
better
you
way
want to
of
get
getting
in
from
on
one
that
place
action,
to the other. But
find
if that's the
Brynjolf in
case,
the
then
marketplace.
it's just short-lived
I'm sure he could
ride
use
in your
someone
flying
like you.
car, anyways. The NPCs aren't
Be
as
seeing you
lively.
around.
Like, even the shop owners, like, if I went to one of the shops and there's only one chop shop in Cyberpunk that feels like has lively NPC, that has its own cutscenes. If I
I don't have
walked
any
into
business
any
with you,
store,
so
what
get
the
out
hell?
of my face.
If I walked into any
spell
store
looks
in
dangerous.
Elder
Keep your
Scrolls,
distance.
or any tavern or
spell
inn,
looks
you have
dangerous.
NPCs
Keep
that
your
are
distance.
way more lively, interactive, and feel like people in comparison to what Cyberpunk has. Cyberpunk is all the same copy and pasted crap NPCs that have barely any interactivity. Where's the Talon J anyways? Talon J is supposed to be
Glover Mallory told me a good deal.
because his wife, his fiance. There he is.
It's wearing
And
a
that's the
dangerous
other
spell.
thing is they have a schedule. Even Watch Dogs has that. They have a sleep schedule. They have a job. They walk around and interact with each other or with the environment around them. There's just much more liveliness to
I met her when I
the
wandered into
characters.
Riften a few years ago.
Where are you popping
Been
up? I
smitten
don't
with
know
her
where.
ever since. In fact,
You don't
I'm
get that
thinking
with
of asking
Cyberpunk.
her
You
to
can't just
marry me.
walk up to an
In
NPC
Blackmarsh, tradition
walking on the side of
dictates
the
we
street and
present a
expect
potential
to
mate
get
a
their
unique
life
wedding
story
ring
or
to
something,
represent our future
or
bond.
some
I already
interesting
have the gold
interaction.
band, but
The
all
other
I
problem
need
I
are
have with
3
Cyberpunk
flawless amethysts to
is,
complete the
other than
setting.
the fact that clothing and weapon variety is lackluster, enemy variety is lackluster. Once again, bringing back the Cyberpunk, the Destiny and ESO thing I was just talking about earlier. Like, your gameplay or your gunplay, whatever it may be, is only as good as it is being used towards. If it is not fun, or there is no variety,
I understand.
or it's
Hopefully I'll
lackluster
be
in
able
other
to
ways,
save my meager
then it
earnings
is
up
not
to buy
going
them
to
one day.
last.
If you'll excuse me, I have other things to attend to.
Also, most of these stores look unique. They have a unique look, where Cyberpunk, most of the places feel exactly the same. Even if they don't look exactly the same, they feel exactly the same. It's not nearly, it's like one of the weakest, I think even Outer Worlds, which I originally loved Outer Worlds, but then started to dislike it the more I came back to it, because I just realized all of its problems started to flood into my space, into my thoughts and stuff. And I kept seeing more and more problems as I played the game. But I still think it's not a bad game. It's just not as good as people made it out originally. But even Outer Worlds is better than Cyberpunk. That, like, when something like that is better is just frickin' sad. It gets things more right than what Cyberpunk does. Cyberpunk's not lively. even the main characters are jerks. Like, why would I want to follow V and Johnny Silverhand when they're just a bunch of jerks? They're unlikable assholes. Why would I want to follow characters like that? If I want to follow a character, I want to see their development grow. And there's this one YouTuber too that made a video saying that Cyberpunk was better than Fallout New Vegas, and I'm like, everything I just said about why a Bethesda game is better than Cyberpunk still applies there too. Everything. I don't care if there's messages, the message of Cyberpunk or messages feel in your face and kind of forced, honestly. So it makes me like it less because it feels so forced and in your face. But also the other thing I don't care about with Cyberpunk is that, like, other than the main characters being a bunch of dickheads that just like are unlikable and barely have character development that feels like it matters, and are fake RPG elements with the only changes being maybe the ending, 3 beginnings, and the romances, that's really it. But even the romances aren't interactable. Like, they're just kind of there. You have discussions with one another, and that's it. Like, you have that in games like Skyrim, but you can also get married. You can adopt children. Even though you can't have children, they let you adopt children, so. You build your own house. You can buy a house to live in. There's just so much more interactivity. You even have, I don't think you can have a store that you own, but your husband/wife can have a store that they own, and you can make money from that. And they kind of run that job. Your job is mostly you're an adventurer. You go through dungeons and stuff, while your husband or wife or whatever is at home, doing whatever they do best, whether they run a tavern or whatever. It's just much more lively. They promised a lot of that stuff in Cyberpunk's trailers, where like you could bring back your love interest back to your home and interact with one another or whatever they were trying to get at. Even Deus Ex Mankind Divided had things that freaking Cyberpunk was showing off or trying to promise. Like, you remember seeing the trailers where your character's on the monorails and going from one train station to another or whatever? Deus Ex has that. Cyberpunk, they completely skipped the whole cutscene part of that to make it feel like you're actually traveling, and it's just a black screen loading screen into another area. It's like, what the hell? Like, they couldn't even make that immersive. It's freaking garbage. They still haven't promised a lot of stuff. If you're gonna put Cyberpunk on the same level as No Man's Sky, which No Man's Sky has promised so much at this point, that's just ridiculous. I think that is a joke. I'm sorry, Skill Up, or whatever the dude's name is that said that in his last vlog with Completionist and all that. But no, I do not agree. It is still not lived up to being a comeback. It is only a comeback because people let themselves get blinded by an anime and crap, and they're kind of desperate in finding something new to play. Just because it's new or it's changed doesn't always equal good. You have to make that decision on your own, and even though you are making that decision, I don't think it's smartly thought about still. I think you went into it a little too quickly and without much thinking. I think you need to put a little bit more thought into it. Because there are people out there that will say objectively Cyberpunk is better than mostly, like that one YouTuber I was saying, is saying objectively Cyberpunk is better than Fallout New Vegas. No, they're completely different games from one another, especially now, since one's not even an RPG, honestly. The other one is way more RPG than that. It's just a joke. I'm sorry that I strayed from the main subject, but I feel like that still plays a part into ESO. ESO has a lot of the same problems Cyberpunk does, except I would rather play ESO than Cyberpunk. I actually tried to give Cyberpunk another chance or two, but it felt like that same problem I had with Outer Worlds, where every time I gave it a chance, I just liked it less and less the more I came back to it. I just couldn't find stuff to do. Everything, all the jobs I tried to do in Cyberpunk, I just got really bored really quick. I don't know how people have the patience nor the time to say that this game is fun enough to keep uh, their attention span going. Because I feel like I really lack in that, like when it comes to Cyberpunk. But I can come back to games like this and Fallout and still have a lot of fun and find new things to do. Mods or not, I don't care. Even vanilla version of Skyrim, I always find stuff to do. More so than what frickin' Cyberpunk does. Got another frickin' saber tooth. And like, there are so many YouTubers, from Jew to Mickey D, all sorts of other YouTubers that just have.
This one thinks you should be more careful with your spells. This one thinks you should be more careful with your spells.
I don't have a spell on me. What is making people say that? I don't know what's going on with that. Whoa. Some mammoths. And yes, games like Skyrim and Fallout are glitchy games. But at least they're lively, at least they have content, they live up to a lot of the things they promised. Are you
We're here to teach you a lesson.
Well, you can teach you. Because even if you don't like the melee combat and such of something like Skyrim, you'll at least like the... this.
This one thinks you should be more careful with your spells.
Shut up. I don't have spells. What are you talking about?
You should be more careful with your spell casting.
This one thinks you should be more careful with your spells.
I'm about to kill all of you. I don't know what happened that they're all saying that now. I think there's something I'm either wearing or maybe it's my weapon or something that's making them say that. I don't know. They're all saying the same dialogue at me. And that happened a while ago, so I don't know if maybe it has something to do with one of my companions even. Or maybe one of my spells broke and it's like showing as constantly happening at all times. So, I don't know. Let's see. I want to put, speaking of spells, oh, his. But, I want it to be daytime. It's freaking dark. I like it better when it's day. I never found the world of Cyberpunk interesting. Like, it doesn't nearly have as much. Like, if I looked at Cyberpunk has. What is it called? Edge City or so? What is the city? I'm probably thinking of a different movie, altogether. I remember there's a movie that has a city called Edge City. I can't remember what that's from though. But like when I when I look at the map of Cyberpunk, most of the world is covered in that city. Where a lot of the cities are more spread out here and unique. Like that one city just feels like a city from like a more kinda sci-fi looking city of one in GTA, and I'm not even a big fan of GTA. I don't like that series, but somehow it feels just as boring. You got even the traffic isn't realistic. Like if you get in a car's way, they're not going to find a way to drive around you or turn around or something or complain to you. They'll just sit there forever. So even the traffic in that game isn't realistic. They still haven't fixed stuff like that. Even the way the police don't work similar. Like there's so many other games that make the police more lively and feel like they're there. Even once again, Deus Ex Mankind Divided is a better Cyberpunk game. It has more lively, interactable, and believable police force. And it's just a much better cyberpunk world in general. I like the character better. The characters better. Frickin', you can't top Adam Jensen with frickin' V. He's frickin' boring, and it's a one-letter name. So boring. Even that's a fake RPG when you think about it, because you have to, don't you have to stick to just the name V? You can't like change the name, just mostly the appearance and whatever. Like that's kind of fake. Now that I think about it. You're strict to most of the same dialogue. Even when you have other dialogue options, the situation that the dialogue leads to never truly changes. You're still going on the same beating path most of the time, with a few side things like romances being the only differences, but you don't even need to do that in general. And still nothing changes in the main story. Like, what is the point? Like, you can argue the same with Elder Scrolls Skyrim and such, but Elder Scrolls Skyrim is still more believable with its frickin' world. God, Cyberpunk. Like, once I brought up Cyberpunk, it's just pissed me off. That game's just, like, yuck. It's I'm so mad that people are, like, thinking it's this high and almighty game of all time. Even Witcher 3 is better than it. Piss off with Cyberpunk. It is not as good as you're trying to make it out to be. It is still trash. If you get a good expansion or whatever, that's fine. That is good for you. Whatever. That does not mean that the main game itself is good, suddenly, because it gets a good DLC. It should have already been good, and I still don't think it is good. Even now, it is still a piece of crap. I don't care what anybody freaking says. I will say that objectively. I think that people can have fun with anything, like even, once again, like people brought out, like Angry Joe brought out with Fallout 76, of course, you're gonna find fun in it if you play with friends or whatever. I feel like that same thing can be contributed. A matter of fact, I would have preferred it if they had multiplayer, because goddamn, Cyberpunk's boring without it. But I'm sure there are people who could have the brains, the freaking patience for a game like Cyberpunk even, or they like purposely find things. But I don't find realistic, even with the guy who said like Cyberpunk is their top 5 game, they're one of their top 5 games on Steam. I don't find that realistic. How many games are on Steam that it tops all of them pretty much? That's crazy. That is crazy. That is stupid. I don't believe that. The only way I'm gonna believe that is if you've only played like 5 or 6 games. That is unbelievable. You're freaking like topped most of Valve's exclusive IPs. You're telling me it's better than. You're telling me that the Half-Life or Gmod or Counter-Strike, you're telling me it's better than those? You're telling me it's better than Dark Souls? Better than Dark Souls 1, 2, 3, whatever Dark Souls games are on there? Elden Ring? You're telling me it's better than all those. You're telling me it's better than Fallout 4. You're telling me it's better than Skyrim, Oblivion, Morrowind. You're telling me it's better than all of those? You've gotta be joking. That's why I don't find that video very believable. They either didn't play very much games on Steam, and they're trying to make a bigger deal out of it than they already are.
Regardless of Twilight. In the mountains to the northeast. I'll mark it on your map.
That is just so unbelievable and realistic to me. It is ridiculous. I should make a video on that actually on its own. I should have done a Cyberpunk video, but ESO just still doesn't live up to a lot of the stuff that it does. I think it is slightly better thanks to companions, and I'll still check out the new expansion, but it's just a generic MMO. It blends in, it has a lot of the same things I complained about with Destiny and once again Cyberpunk back in the day. Like, it's just not as lively an open world or game or MMO or whatever, and it has a lot of the same typical issues I have. there's only like a couple characters that I like in it too. Honestly, complaining about Cyberpunk was probably more something I wanted to complain about, because once I talk about ESO, it's either just really boring and there's not much to say, or yeah, like a lot of it, when I was playing its quest structures for each of the fucking DLCs, it was the same exact quest structures. Like, what is, also the storylines are the same. It's always the same freaking storyline of either somebody being kidnapped, or what was the other thing? It always played out very similar. I can't remember what it was. I would have to ask my friend what I complained about with it, because he remembers me saying that like most of the storylines always oh yeah, they always have a traitor. Like, there's always gotta be a character that's a betrayer. Like, it's some Scooby-Doo mystery thing where it's like you're trying to solve who the person was, but there's this person that's close to you, and like one of the only other people that's obviously there and probably obviously gonna be the bad guy. It always has that traitor thing where it's like, oh, this person belongs to the traitor. Why are you doing the same storyline where it's a traitor, the same traitor storyline, or you're trying to pull that off as if it's a plot twist? There were only like one or two DLC quest lines that didn't do that I liked. Or even when they did, it was at least decent with the others, like the characters and stuff. I thought the Elsewhere stuff was my favorite so far. But other than that, oh, and frickin' the Thieves and the Dark Brotherhood especially pisses me off. Don't bring your companions to those, by the way, because that storyline will piss you off, because you can make your companions angry at you if you join the Dark Brotherhood, unless they do like Dark Brotherhood interactions. That is an interesting dynamic, though, to the companions, that they actually have a similar system to the karma system of Fallout 3 and stuff. I actually find the karma system in Fallout 3 somewhat interesting. It may not always work the way you want it to, but it's an interesting idea, even if the execution's not always the best. But, yeah, even frickin' Cyberpunk doesn't have interesting things like that. Like, frick Cyberpunk all the way. But yeah, like, I wish that there was just a lot more to ESO. ESO is just a little too boring to even discuss in this video. It's not as lively, it doesn't have that Skyrim or Elder Scrolls charm in general, even down to Morrowind. I think I could even say the same about Daggerfall and Arena. I think those games had more the typical Elder Scrolls charm that you'll love about them. Like, goddamn, when that's the thing, then that's just sad. It's just not a lively world, and honestly, Cyberpunk is the same. Cyberpunk's a mess. If you like Cyberpunk, once again, like, good for you. But I don't think it's nearly as good as some, oh my gosh, as some games out there you could be spending your better time. I think the reason my love for the game is mostly because they probably don't have, they're really desperately trying to find things to like, because a lot of games, especially recently, have been really underwhelming and garbage. We had frickin' Callisto Protocol, Forspoken, the Gollum game. We had a bunch of games that are just like not holding people's attention, and I think people tried to find that within Cyberpunk thanks to the anime. And I understand that feeling. I've had times where when I watch something, like, take for example, recently we had a free movie play at the theaters on Saturday, which was TMNT, the 2007 version. I can't remember, but it's an animated TMNT movie that I love. And as soon as I got home, I was like, I feel like watching the other TMNT movies or playing a TMNT game, because I got the feeling. And I feel like Cyberpunk was that Cyberpunk anime was that for a lot of people. But here's the thing, I at least think that TMNT game I wanted to play was a better game, as well as the movies were just better in general than Cyberpunk, and they're not even interactive game experiences. Cyberpunk is still best, and I hate it when people come out of Cyberpunk saying that it's an objectively good thing, or saying that it's better than another game like Fallout New Vegas. That's where I start to have major issues with people forcing it down our throats. It's not that you like the game or that you're having fun with it, it's that you're trying to push it down and say that it is actually a good game or a changed game. They actually made it a redemption story. It is only a redemption story because you had that feeling of wanting to like it because you watched an anime or something else that you liked or whatever. It doesn't even need nostalgia attached to it. You could watch something new. Like I watched a new Transformers movie, and even though it's not as good, it's not that amazing a movie, it did make me want to play some Transformers games when I came back. I was like, I feel like playing the Cybertron games. I miss those games that you can't buy them on the Xbox and such. Like that sucks. But I get the feeling. Same with like Star Wars. You feel like you want to watch the Star Wars movies or play Star Wars games after seeing something Star Wars related. Maybe not all the time, but you get what I'm saying. That doesn't always equal that it's good. Like Cyberpunk is definitely one of those where no, it is not that good. I hate ice raves. On a harder difficulty, but I feel like it's not that hard. Again, expert. Yeah, I'm feeling like it's not as hard. I was playing it on legendary. I think legendary is harder than expert. I can't remember. I think the reason I did expert was because I didn't want to die a lot during my playthrough with Tamarian. And that's why I switched it. Yeah, so maybe I'll talk about Cyberpunk in another video. I feel like I talked enough about this. It just changed into a Cyberpunk thing. This is a live stream, so of course I'm going to probably go off of subject. But I feel like there still wasn't enough to say about ESO. Yes, and what was said was all that I could have to be said. ESO, or however I should say that, because my English is not good. No, but yeah, I just feel like ESO doesn't have the vibe or feel of an Elder Scrolls game. It's just like a typical, but somehow not as good or memorable. Some bad, pretty awful people in the community, whether they're part of it or not. There's some really rude people on in general, at least on Xbox from what I've seen. And even though there are nice people too, it's just I've never seen so many rude individuals or nasty individuals, I should say, on a game before. I've never really had that level. There's been some other games with rude individuals, but goddamn, like it topped them somehow. It topped like Halo and such. Like Halo was the only other game I think I've run into some pretty nasty individuals on, or Call of Duty, which somehow people let their kids play. But yeah, like so stupid. I haven't played COD in forever, so I honestly don't care. Like I've given up on games like that in a while now. Like a lot of those types of games, I'm just kind of like, eh. I want to find a good open world game with interesting characters, an interesting world, kind of like the latest Zelda game. I'm just not finding that now with these other games. Even Mass Effect, I thought Mass Effect was such a good RPG with great characters, story, lore. I should play it for the channel again. I need to anyways, because I'm going to be I need to replay it because I lost all my save data, sadly. I'll probably be playing it on my own time and also playing it for the channel for live stream.
One sec, coming through.
Well then go through, dummy. Anyways, I think that's all I have to say about ESO, and I guess Cyberpunk as well. I should have put Cyberpunk in the title. Like, Cyberpunk honestly, like, keeps pissing me off every time people are like, oh, this is a redemption story game. It's like, no, not even close.
Why should I hide from it?
Not
This
even
is my family's
close.
legacy.
What is wrong with people?
Dead oaks and dead
And then people saying it's better than other games that are clearly, that is lacking in a lot of departments that those games have. And they've been around for, what, 10, 20 years or so, and they have more content than the freaking game you're trying to argue for?
And here comes my first visit.
And say that
The
it's
Museum
better
of the
than
Mythic Dawn is
thousands
open,
and thousands of other games on that same platform, when clearly you probably only played
Yes.
5
My
in your
collection of
entire
artifacts from a group that toppled
entirety
an
on
empire.
Steam.
Why don't you come in? You can browse the displays
God, yeah,
and we can talk.
such a small library
I have
of
a job
games
you look
then, and
perfect
you
for.
think Cyberpunk is freaking the best thing ever.
Let's talk inside.
Thank you, sir. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed nonetheless, and I will see you on the next video, which will either be Elder Scrolls or Mass Effect, now that I said that. Or Fallout, actually.
Feel
I've
free
been
to look
wanting to do
around.
Fallout recently.
Come talk to me when you're ready to discuss that job I mentioned.
Okay. But yeah,
the tapestries hung
ESO
here and outside were found
mediocre.
in hideouts, where members of the
I'm
Mythic
glad
Dawn
companions are in it, but not the best
the cult's
MMO.
greatest
I did say I
accomplishment
want to play it with
was
my
the
friends.
assassination of the
I
Second
think Fallout
Dynasty.
76 sadly is better. But whatever. I'll see you guys next time, and Cyberpunk is still a mess. I do hope that the DLC is good, but you're not playing as Idris Elba. I was hoping Idris, sorry. I keep putting a B in his name for some reason. I don't know what started that. But I do like Idris Elba, and I hope that, I was hoping you play as him, but I guess not. He's just a side character. Hopefully he's an interesting side character. That he's written well. But it looks like you're gonna have more B and Johnny Silverhand, which I love Keanu Reeves as well, but the way they wrote Keanu Reeves' character, he's just a massive jerk and unlikable, so I don't know if I'm gonna like him all that much. So we'll have to see. See you next time, and goodbye, have an awesome day. Sorry if I was too harsh sounding in my video, but whatever, that game pisses me off. The people defending it too, like crazy